Yo, yo, yo. We are here on the first podcast. I think I'm going to call it the MY podcast because, we got Amr. He has his AB experience. I'm going to call mine the MY experience, baby. But anyways, we're here with James White with M1 Realty. Yeah, give it up for James.
Thank you very much.
All right, James. So we got James White with M1 Realty. James, go ahead and introduce yourself. Give a little background about yourself. You're with M1 Realty, and you're a real estate agent here in Michigan. So how long have you been a real estate agent now?
It's going on 4 years. September will make 4 years that I've actually been a realtor. I've been studying real estate from an investor's perspective for some time now. Like 1999, I first started.
Really?
Let's start learning about different aspects of investing. That's what I was basically thinking about. And somebody gave me a book, and I told them that I might be interested in real estate, and this book was completely not what I was expecting. It was about selling paper. So basically, people buy the mortgages, they buy the notes, and it was it piqued my interest because I'm like, well, I was thinking about carpentry and fixing and buying and flipping, and that's not what it was about at all. But it did open up my understanding to how many, there's so many different aspects of real estate. And it's funny because what really made me even think about real estate from the beginning was this Sir Mix-a-Lot song. And he was talking about, it was posses on Broadway, and they doing all of this stuff with all these girls and these cars and got the gold chains and everything. And one of the guys who was in his group was Larry. He said, Larry is the white guy. People think he's funny. A real estate investor who makes a lot of money. I was like, okay, real estate investors make a lot of money. Okay, well, So from then, I just started looking at different aspects of real estate, and I didn't think about being a real estate agent. I never really looked into that until later on. And in 2004, I went ahead and took the class, and I went and took the exam, and I failed it. I failed it twice.
Really?
But yeah, and the killing part was the questions that I missed. I already knew. I knew I was answering it wrong when I answered it wrong.
Yeah.
And I was going through a lot of stuff at the time, and I was stressed out, and just recently got married, was going through stuff at the house and everything. And at the time, I was looking to invest more so than try to sell houses anyway. But, I got off into everything, life basically. And then next thing you know, I'm taking business classes at Oakland Community College, and I saw on the billboard, or the bulletin board rather, that an advertisement about being a real estate agent, and it was a lady named Wandra Christmas. She worked with Keller Williams, and she's a really, really great agent. She likes really, she's in the high end homes and everything.
She's still around today?
She is, yeah.
Okay.
And so, we're pretty cool. It's just she does her thing and I do mine. And I went to Keller Williams, and that's where I started off as a realtor.
Wow, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
So you went with M1 always?
No, I started off at Keller Williams. And Keller Williams is Keller Williams. Keller Williams is big. Keller Williams is like a machine.
Yep.
But I just didn't feel like I fit in at Keller Williams. There's a lot of scripts and stuff, and I'm more personable. I don't really get off into a lot of scripts. I don't feel comfortable with the scripts. I just kind of play things by ear. And sometimes I think about it, and I'm like, hey, maybe I should have learned the scripts because certain people, it obviously works.
Right,
It works for a lot of people. And the teams, you get on the team and you learn a job at a time, and you work together, and everybody works together, and that's good too. But at the time, I'm thinking like, hey, wait a minute. Well, if the commission is only going to be 3%, and then you got to split that up between 6 people. I mean,
everyone got to get a piece of the pie.
Right. Every deal.
There's
I
no
say,
pie
hey,
left.
look, yeah, exactly. Yeah, those little slithers.
That's funny. No, but I like what you just said about, because when you think of a script, it's kind of like a sales script. Like
right.
like you gotta, like you're selling somebody. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I like what you said about how you didn't really like the scripts. You were more of like the personable guy. I mean, at the end of the day, if like you're just being yourself and you're being honest, you're being transparent, there's no selling that you got to do.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
I respect that.
And it's like, some people, I'm for some people, and some people, they look for that script. They look for that personality. They look for the everything being all, nice and cheery.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it's not cheery. With me, I get upset. If I have a client and I see that somebody's trying to take advantage of them, I might not be cheery about it. I'm not really worried about somebody's feelings. Mm-hmm. If they come and they telling me they want to submit an offer, I'm not gonna say, well, they're not gonna like it if I try to give them that low offer. And if I felt that way, then I wouldn't get the offers accepted that I do get accepted, because I get a lot of offers accepted below what they ask. And even when the market was like booming and everybody was paying appraisal guarantees, and they still do. But I just try to steer my clients around that, and I will go submit an offer, and I have had sellers tell me that they were offended, and they still ended up having to go with the offer that I submitted for my client. Wow. Yeah,
that's what it's all about.
I got my girlfriend a house, and the seller told me that he was offended when I went over on the weekend to help him make repairs on the house that the FHA would have complained about. They didn't, when the FHA came, they didn't complain about anything. Right. They just gave him a low appraisal, and we had to drop it back down to where I started at, where he was offended with.
Wow. So you knew the whole time.
Right. I called. I'm good at calling them off, like what they're gonna appraise for.
Right.
I've even had to have people that offered more than what the asking price was without an appraisal guarantee, and I convinced the listing agent that the house was still appraised, so they would still get their money. So we had a higher offer than everybody else's, but with no appraisal guarantee, and theirs was guaranteed. And the house appraised. They right where I said it would.
Wow. Yeah. So do you think that's one of your values for your clients, right? The first one, I think we established it. You're personable, you're transparent, you're honest, and number two, with that investing background that you had, that you kind of studied in a way, that book you read, and you kind of know your areas. Just from me talking to you, having a few convos with you, I noticed that you know your areas. You know Detroit. You know how what main. By the way, you should tell the people, what main cities do you work out of? Like what is your. Obviously, we'll go anywhere right now.
Right. I will go anywhere. If I can get there in an hour, I'll be there, as long as it's worth it. I mean, hey, I just went to. Yeah, I'm not like I'm proud of it, but I am proud of the fact that I had a couple of ladies who were in shelters in Detroit, and I picked them up, both of them, on separate occasions, took them to find a house, and I did my research before I went. I didn't want to take them a bunch of places because it's not even enough money involved, right. But I picked a couple of ladies up from the shelter, took them to find them a house, took them to the listing office, and had them fill out all their paperwork and turn in their vouchers. And that was just some Section 8 stuff. You know what I'm saying? That was from me going from Bloomfield Hills to Detroit, and then to, I don't know where it was, Livonia, to go to the office, and then back to the shelter and back. So yeah, I'll go pretty much anywhere, man. I go to Flint. I got a listing in Flint now, and
for the clients. All day.
Right. Yeah, as long as it's gonna make sense. Those Section 8 ones didn't technically make sense financially, but it was more of a moral obligation that I felt with that. Yeah. Some people won't do a rental at all. And I understand why, right?
They don't make enough,
get
right?
it. Yeah, I do. I get it. And I don't really like doing them either. But as far as where will I go, I particularly like Auburn Hills, Bloomfield Hills, anywhere in that area. But as far as where I would consider myself an absolute expert, and I mean Pontiac, and Pontiac doesn't have the houses that the price in the range that I would like to sell. Right. But as far as knowing the neighborhoods and the different parts and
school districts and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm definitely an expert in Pontiac. My higher uppers, so I call them. They tell me, they're like, "Hey, look, you know you're doing good in Pontiac, man. But you know, you step outside of Pontiac, and I do. I mean, I've sold homes in Redford and
Mm-hmm.
I get Sterling Heights. I mean, I go all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
But really, you know, I go, and as long as I can get there in a good hour, I'll
Yeah.
go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but
100%.
I try to steer people, not necessarily steer, because steering is illegal. But
Mm-hmm.
I try to bring light to people in areas where they can get more house,
Mm.
like Grand Blanc, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
For the price, you can get a really nice house and a nice piece of land. And I would like to help people find houses in areas like that where they can
Mm-hmm.
get a nice house. I mean, they can do it in Southfield too, really.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, you know, I bring to people's attention that taxes are higher in certain places
exactly.
too.
Like West Bloomfield and the
Right.
West Side,
Yeah.
taxes are really high. More expensive houses there.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And if you can afford them, that's fine because you know you're gonna have good school systems
Mm-hmm.
and you're gonna have good public services. You're
Mm-hmm.
not gonna have a high crime rate, and that's
Right.
good. All of that stuff is good if you can afford it. But a lot of people that I work with, you know, a lot of times, you know, they may be able to technically afford it, but in the long run, it might stress them out a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of things that people are, back to that topic about taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Taxes are what they are now, and what the estimates that we're showing people, that we're closing people now. But I'm telling a lot of my clients, like, hey, listen, expect the taxes to go up a little bit.
Right.
Make sure you budget for that.
Yes, you have to.
Yeah.
And for everything, because I talk a lot of people out of renting.
Yeah.
I tell them, hey, look, why would you rent when you can get programs that'll get you a zero down?
Yep.
And I mean, I don't suggest people really opt for the programs if you can put some money down, because in the long run, it's going to be better because you're going to have lower interest rates and even a lower note for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
But for people that's renting, you paying 100% interest if that's what you're going to do. I mean, you're just never going to have an investment in anything. If you're going to rent, I mean, you lose. You end up having to walk away from your investment. You just worked or whatever you did, and you just gave it away. Whereas if you were buying, you would build equity. And even if everybody's so concerned about the market crashing, even if it did, you can continue to pay your note, and you will eventually pay your home off, and all you'll have to ever pay is taxes. Because at that point, you're not even really obligated to have insurance. Not that I would say to not have it. I would recommend that everybody did. But as long as you paid your taxes and did the upkeep on your property, you wouldn't have to worry about paying a note or a monthly payment at all. And to me, that's smarter. But I know there are reasons why people will rent instead of buying. There's pros and cons with both. But, you know, I'm not going to go lease a car. I'm going to buy a car. And if I can, when I pay it off, I can keep the car. As long as I keep it in good condition, I can get where I need to go. I don't have to worry about starting over. And that's the same difference with renting. I would rather, I always recommend a person just buy. Because then if they build up a little equity, like look at some of these people. There's a house, since my first name is James and middle name is K, and this particular example is always one that I use. But there's a property in Pontiac on James K. Boulevard. Last year, this property sold for $130,000 in March. And they sold it again in May of the last year too. But this year, in May, they got it under contract for $230 because of the value of the house value just has risen that much.
Wow.
So if that person just said that they just wanted to just rent, that wouldn't even be possible because now you got like 100%, 100% equity in this thing already. Like you just doubled your money.
Exactly.
It's just not from doing anything. They didn't have new appliances. They didn't do much of anything. They looked like they went in and sanded the floors and did, and stained them and finished the floors. They put a countertop in the kitchen. But they didn't do a lot of work like that. And to be able to gain that type of equity and you can actually sell it and realize your equity and have $100,000 and pay the house off, That's just it's just ridiculous. I
No
don't
brainer.
understand why you couldn't have done that renting.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. When you put it that way, it's definitely
Right.
a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like you said, imagine if that buyer that bought it for 130 said, you know what, I'm gonna actually hold off. I'm gonna wait, and I'm gonna keep renting.
Right.
I'm gonna see what happens with the market.
Yeah.
And
Right.
then it's like you just missed out on your
$100,000.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All you have to do is buy it, sit there, live in it, and then sell it for more than. So you just got best of both worlds. You got a place to live in.
Yep.
You were living there. You paid your mortgage. You built equity. Property values went up. Thank goodness. And now you just made $100,000.
Yep.
And now you go off buying a better house.
Yep. That's
Off of
all you
that
gotta do.
investment. Yeah.
And turn around and just put a little bit down.
Yep.
Even if you put 20% down
Yeah.
and you bypass the PMI, and you good. I mean, you got money. You got a new house.
Mm-hmm.
Something new. It's all new is always good.
Oh yeah, always. So what do you say to the So what are some like when is a time when you would say, you know what, like would you ever give advice to somebody, say, you know what, you're better off renting, or is there never a case where that's?
I mean, that brings me to Home Partners of America. Now, I can understand how some people might be skeptical because they keep hearing about the market crashing. I don't believe the market is going to crash. I believe that the house values might level off, and like even now, you see a lot more houses where people are willing to negotiate because they don't sell as fast as they did at one point. But a lot of the houses that don't sell as fast, it's mainly because they're not completely updated. So they might need a little work. So people come in and say, well, I don't, they might even not have that much money because a lot of people got a pre-approval. They don't necessarily have a lot of money on top of that to do a bunch of repairs. But there is a program, and others like it, called Home Partners of America, where they actually will buy the house that you go out and find. And you go out and find the house, and your realtor uploads the information and then transfers it to Home Partners. Home Partners writes an offer, and they buy the house cash, and they'll lease it to who was the client, because Home Partners becomes the realtor's client now, but they lease it to the lessee, and they become the lessor, and it's a 5-year program where they renew the lease once a year, and they only go up, I want to say 3.5, 3.8% or something like that every year. So in a case where, like I said, from January 2021 to January 2022, the home values went from they rose like 18.7%, then that would give that same person still 15%, and the house value rose 15% for them. They still got equity into that, and they still gonna be locked into the price that was predetermined before the actual prices increased.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So they lock it into whatever the price or the original.
So it goes up like I'm gonna say 3.8% every year. That's on the high end. It might be a little lower, but it's like 3.8%. So if the market did take a dive, they won't lose because they were gonna be leasing anyway, and they can still walk away.
Yeah.
It's 1 year at a time. If after a year something happens, they don't want to be there anymore, they can walk away. And it's not just good. It's good for. That's one good thing for. You only need a 580 credit score to be able to qualify. So that's another good one because somebody might not have the credit to do it. Mm-hmm. But it's also good to test drive an area because you can say, okay, well, I don't know exactly how the schools are, or I don't know how the neighborhood is, and you really can't tell all of this stuff right from the beginning. And you might have a realtor that don't really know the area either, and you might want to just try it out, and if it doesn't work, then you can walk away. If it does, then
that's a good
you can
point.
go ahead and buy it. We can call you and get a mortgage and just buy out.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that. Test driving the vehicle basically before you get it.
Exactly.
So you're going to test drive it for a year. After the year, they give you the option to buy it, right?
Yeah, you can buy it anytime.
Anytime?
Yeah, even before the year is up.
And I've heard of this program, but I heard of it because I was speaking to a realtor out in Chicago.
Right.
But do they have it in Michigan? They have it.
They do. They have other programs that go to Chicago too, but that they don't do here. But they do have it here. So actually, this morning I was talking to somebody in Arkansas, and she said that they just moved from Arizona to Arkansas, but they were working on getting the money together. They had some stuff they had to sell before they could buy, but they were gonna have to lease. She didn't know that there was an option. And so I explained it to her. I'm like, hey, look, there's a program. And I say, Home Partners of America, and they'll actually let you go out and find your house that you want to live in, and they'll buy the house for you. And if you're going to be leasing, you might as well lease where you want to be. And then once you get your financial situation in order, then you can go ahead and get your mortgage and buy that particular house from them.
Yeah.
And if the market continues to rise at the rate that it's been going, then you'll still be locked in. And if it does not, then you can either stay still or walk away.
Yeah.
And she was so excited about it. I'm still waiting on her to call back. She was at work, so when she gets off, I'm expected to talk to her. But I told her that, I'm saying, hey, look, if you don't know anyone who knows about that program in the area, I can refer you a realtor in the area that does know. Mm-hmm. And that's what I was going to do. I reached out to, because, we got a group.
Yeah.
So,
like a community / group.
A community. So
all realtors know each. You guys are like
in the home partner. It's a home partner group.
Oh, it's a home partner group.
Yeah.
Oh, no way.
So our community, nice. I reached out to someone in Arkansas, and I let her know, hey, I'm have somebody a possible referral for you. So that just opened up the door really for a referral for me.
Nice. Yeah, that's amazing. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that home partners thing, I mean, have you been doing a lot of that recently in Michigan? You see, it's common.
No, it is.
I know it's common in these big cities.
Right.
How about like around here? Same thing.
See, they only buy in certain areas.
Yeah.
They won't buy in Pontiac.
Right.
They won't even buy in Waterford, but not because Waterford is not they're not up to standard. It's because of their leasing requirements. So, but they'll buy in Troy.
Yeah.
They'll buy in Sterling Heights, Roseville. They won't do. They don't think they do Clinton Township.
So there's certain cities they have a list of them. I'm assuming that they buy in.
Right, and they are like, if Home Partners will buy it, it's gonna be nice. And Home Partners actually will go in and make repairs right from the beginning. And if it's something that you want done, they'll go in there and update. Wow. They'll make updates too. But that's gonna make the difference on the price, obviously.
Right.
It's a business, they got to make money some kind of way. But
yeah,
for the most part, for somebody who was going to rent, that's what I would recommend. But rather than, at least that way you still kind of locked in, you still be able to get equity, and then if you're gonna be leasing anyway, you might as well have some type of value, building some type of value in it. Because otherwise, you just keep renting and paying your money, just giving your money to somebody else who's paying their property off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the thing with rent too is, you can probably even talk a little about this, the payment goes up on rent.
Yeah, and another, aside from the payment going up, another drawback is, it's funny too, because I talked about this on the Facebook Live the other day, and then I received a phone call, and the guy told me that he heard what I said, and he was going through exactly what I said. How somebody who may be a landlord, a property owner is a landlord now, and this lessor is going to sell the house. So he sells the house that he's been leasing, but the people who bought it don't want a tenant. They want the house. And then since they want possession of the house, then as soon as possible, the tenant has to go. Once the lease is over with, then he got to be out of there.
Yeah.
And he might try to put up a fight and try to, stress it out and, put off the eviction process or whatever, but you got to go. And why even have to deal with something like that when you can come up with $1,000 and put part of an EMD down and pay for an appraisal and move in.
All that.
Buy your own house and, eventually rent that out.
Exactly.
But I I always kind of stress to people, especially when they start to uh, rent properties out, like start looking into multifamily units. Because the multifamily units, if you're gonna rent something out, then you got multiple units at the same time. And then if you know, I know people who have these properties who bought a lot of properties when they were cheap, and I'm trying to tell them all the time, like, hey, look, why don't you sell your houses, sell all of them? Because what are you doing? You got 20 houses. It's just like, for what? Like, sell all of those houses, put the money in the 1031 tax exchange, go and find multi-unit properties or one 20-unit building or something.
Yeah.
And that way you don't have to worry about the upkeep on 20 separate properties, pay taxes on 20 separate properties, worry about 20 separate roofs. It's all consolidated. And then if you got 20 properties, 20 units in one building, you can just have a property management company manage it and enjoy your life.